Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Today we are going to do a get ready with me with some new products that I have purchased from Ulta and Sephora. Some of these are like newer products and some of them are just new to me. So I thought it would be fun to kind of do a get ready with me with them and kind of like a first impressions. And also, we are going to do a little chit chat, story time, whatever you want to call it, about my tattoos. Ever since I've gotten these two on my wrist, I've had a ton of questions about them. So I thought I would just go through and tell you guys what they mean and like answer kind of all the questions that I've gotten. I actually already have two. They're on my feet though, so you guys probably haven't seen them. So I'll insert pictures of them if you guys are interested in seeing what they are, and I'll explain kind of what those are as well. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start off with the eyes. I already put some tape down. And I'm just going to go ahead and prime with my Milani eyeshadow primer. So, and we're going to use the ColourPop Give It To Me Straight palette. I recently got this off of Ulta's website, and I have never used ColourPop powder eyeshadows before. So, I know they've been around for a while, but I just have never purchased them. So we're going to see how I like them today. Okay. So my tattoos. So funny. So, okay, let's go ahead and start off with the ones on my feet because I just feel like those are the ones I got first. So it makes more sense to kind of do it like in order that way. So the first one I ever got was a cross on my lower right, like ankle, I guess is kind of where the placement is. I got that one when I was 18, almost 19. And I got it, so I got all of my tattoos at this place called Evolved. It's actually in Columbus. So I live in Cincinnati and Columbus is about 2 hours away from me. And my sister lived there for like 8 years. So I got all of my tattoos there. The two I got when my sister lived in Columbus, and then one of my really good friends from college, she actually lives in Columbus as well. So I went and got the other two with her. I'm just setting the primer with the Matter of Fact color. So anyways, that's where I've gotten all of mine. So if you're in the Cincinnati, Columbus area, Evolved is a really, really great place. It's clean. All of my tattoos have lasted very well without fading or, you know, bleeding or anything like that on them. So I really recommend there. I went back there instead of going to a place here just because I knew I really liked that place and I really liked how my previous two held up. So I decided to just go back there because I was like, I trust that place, you know? So anyway, so I went back there. So the first one I got ever was the cross. And I knew I wanted that one for a long time. I was almost 19 when I got it. I was like summer before I went to college. And I knew I really wanted that, and so I went and I got that one. Pain level of that one was actually like, it hurt, and I think it was probably more intense because it was my first one, but it was okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with the shade Down right here. Put that as my transition shade. So anyways, okay. Second one I got was the one on my left foot, and it says Love Always, and it's in my grandmother's handwriting. I was really close with my grandma. She died when I was 3, but I was really close with her, and you know, people say I look just like her, and like I'm obsessed with the old TV show I Love Lucy, like obsessed. I have memorabilia and everything like that. And so, and that is all because of her. So, and I've always just felt like this weird like soul connection to her. So anyways, so I got that, and that one hurt a little bit more than the cross did. I got that one when I was 19. So I remember I got my cross in September of 2000, or August or September of 2011, and then I got the one on my left foot in December of 2011. So they weren't very far apart. But that one hurt a little bit more than the cross just because it went right over a bone. So it went right over like the bone in my foot, and that's the one that hurt. And that's the part that hurt the most, I mean, with that. So I always knew I wanted those two. Like those two were always just ones that I wanted. I wanted something for my grandma, and I wanted a cross. and that's where I wanted my cross. Like, I always knew those things. Well, fast forward, like, I don't know, 7 years. And, well, no, okay, I would say fast forward probably like 5 or 6 years. And I read this book. It's by Lisa TerKeurst, and it's called Uninvited. And I think I've talked about it here before on my channel. Now I'm going to go in with the shade Truth Hurts, by the way, on like a smaller brush. So I read this book, Uninvited, by Lisa TerKeurst, and that book is so good, you guys. It's basically all about feeling insecure and feeling like bad about ourselves as women, and like why we feel insecure, and like the lies that we tell ourselves and the lies that we allow the enemy to tell us and things like that. And when really we need to live from a place of knowing that we're loved by God and have that drive our actions. And so in the book, she repeats a lot the phrase, sorry. In the book, she repeats a lot the phrase, live loved. So it's all about living from a place of knowing that you're loved. And when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I would love that as a tattoo someday. Like I want it on my wrist. And that was probably 2 years ago. So I knew I wanted that one. And I wanted that one for a long time. I think I'm going to go in with the shade Forthright right here. The shimmery shade. It's like a taupey shimmer. A little chunky, but it's alright. I'm sorry if this video is all over the place, you guys. I'm not great at multitasking, so I'm really trying. Anyways, I knew I wanted the tattoo Live Loved for a long time. And so my friend, whenever I was up in Columbus or whenever I would see her, she would be like, dude, like we need to go get your tattoo. And I was just like, I know, like, but anyways, it just kind of never worked out really, like the timing of things or, you know, just all of it. And because like I really wanted to sit on it for a while because I was like, do I really want it? You know, like, and I think that's important to do with tattoos. I think it's important to, I mean, I don't know. I guess if you're an impulsive person and you like, you know, like the guy who did my tattoos this time, he was like, you know, I have some tattoos there I'm like, yeah, I love these. And some of them I'm like, oh, that was just a weird time in my life. I don't know why I did that. And he's okay with that, you know, and that's great for him. But for me, I am just not that type of person. I would hate having something on my body permanently that I don't want anymore. And so I really kind of like sit on it. And I really wanted to make sure I was 100% in, you know, like I didn't want to have any doubts like at all going into getting my tattoos. You know, I wanted to know that I was 100% okay with having them forever. And so I just kind of was always not really sure. Well, I would say in the last like 6 months, I became 100% in with it. I was like, yes, I want it. I know I want it. Like, let's go. I'm down, whatever. So again, we picked a weekend and we went and we did it. And that is the one that's over here that you guys see. It says Live Loved. So that is the one that I got. And then, okay, and then this one. This one was probably my most impulsive. You guys can't even see it. This one right here. It's 3 little arrows. So this one, and if you've seen my Instagram, you might kind of have an idea of what it means, but, okay, so this tattoo is called the Lucky Few tattoo. Now, it's for people or, okay, so let me start over. So it's called the Lucky Few tattoo, and there's this woman, her name is Heather Avis, and she wrote a book called The Lucky Few. Now, she has 2 children with Down syndrome, and she basically wrote this book saying that, like, she's a part of the lucky few who get to parent kids with Down syndrome. Like, it's the best thing ever. So I guess I listened to, like, a podcaster, I think, one time, and she said that when she was on, like, mom's retreat one time for, you know, moms who have kids with Down syndrome, they were all like kind of wanting tattoos and like all of this stuff. Well, there was this other woman named Micah. I think it's Micah May, who owns May Designs, if you're familiar with that brand. They have like planners and notebooks and things like that. They're in Target stores. So Micah May has a son with Down syndrome. And basically Micah was like, oh my gosh, I've had this idea in my head as a tattoo and I didn't really ever know why. Like, I feel like the Lord kind of like brought it to me and in a dream and I don't know why. And so she kind of drew it out and they were all like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. We all have to go get these tattoos. So there were a bunch of moms on that retreat that went and got this tattoo, which it's 3 little arrows. And if you don't know anything about Down syndrome is the 3rd copy of the chromosome 21. And so it kind of made sense, like 3, right? So they all went and got it. Well, then it kind of became like a thing. And because Heather has her book, The Lucky Few, it just kind of became like the Lucky Few tattoo is what it's called. So now parents with kids with Down syndrome, people who love kids with Down syndrome, people with Down syndrome, whatever it is, they are getting these tattoos. And if you're not familiar with my life or my Instagram especially, I have a little best friend who has Down syndrome. And I call her my little best friend because I just really feel like that's what she is to me. So I started nannying her when I was going to be a senior in college. And that summer, my family went through a lot of really hard things with like passings and things like that. And this little girl just lit up my world. Like, it was so much, there was so much healing and like going there every day to watch her and to just be present with her and to feel comforted by her and watch her grow. And, you know, I remember there was one time I was like sitting on the floor crying and she just kind of crawled up right beside me and just snuggled me. And I was like, oh my God, I love you. And so just, I don't know, ever since then, she's just had a kind of a special place in my heart. And that was 4 years ago now. And so, and now, you know, she has a little sister and she's all over my Instagram as well. And they're just the best kids ever. So anyway, so I just really feel this connection to her, to Chloe. And so, and my sister is in the process of adopting a little girl with Down syndrome. And so I just kind of felt this need to like get the Lucky Few tattoo. Like, I feel so lucky to get to love Chloe and my soon to be niece. Like, and just to love people with Down syndrome and get to work with them. And because that is a part of my work that I do, you know, like my real job is like doing that. And so I just feel so lucky. And so I got this tattoo as well. And this was something I would say I wanted for maybe a couple weeks. And this was my most impulsive one, but I really, really wanted it. And my friend was like, you have to do it, you have to do it, you have to do it. And I was just like, okay. And so this was probably my most impulsive one, but honestly, I knew I would never regret getting this because, you know, Chloe will be in my life for the rest of my life. I've talked with her parents and, you know, she will always be in my life 100%. So anywho, those are all the stories behind my tattoos, I guess I should say. So I'm just going to go in a little bit more with forthright. Sorry, I kind of stopped doing the makeup for a second. I'm not a great multitasker, so I'm like really trying here. Now I'm going to go in with the shade TMI. I'm really liking the way these shadows are blending though, I will say. Okay, so those are all of the stories behind the tattoos, I should say. Now, people always ask me, like, does it hurt? Yes, it does hurt. You have a needle going into your arm, you know, or in your foot, or into your ankle. Like, it hurts, you know? Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It hurts. But I will say that if you get something small, like this, the pain does not last. Like, it's not sore for days. You don't even really notice. Now, with something bigger like this, which to some people, I'm sure this is small. It just kind of is all about like what you're comfortable with. It was a little like tender to the touch. I hate that saying, tender to the touch. Whatever. Like, I would say maybe 2 to 3 days after, just because, you know, your skin is scabbing over. So it's not the most comfortable, but after 2 to 3 days, it's fine. And it's also not like a pain that like is there constantly. It's just when you like nudge it or hit it or like you have to put a really heavy lotion on it. I prefer Aquaphor. I think Aquaphor is really, really good. for everything, but especially for taking care of tattoos. When you like, when I would rub it on there, like at night or in the morning or whatever, it would just be like, ooh, ouch. Like it was like a scab, because that's what it is. So now I'm going to go back in with the shade, probably Downright, and just kind of blend that out, the TMI color. So anywho, it would just be kind of like tender to the touch a little bit. So other than that though, like it doesn't really last, you know, it's not pain that is like there for the rest of your life, or, you know, things like that. Or like, it's not even a really intense pain. It is when you're getting them, especially this one. For some reason, I remember this one because when he would write it, like he would be dragging the needle, and that's the part that kind of hurt. But again, it's so worth it in my opinion. Like, and you know, tattoos can get expensive a little bit, you know, they're not like the cheapest things ever. I'm going to go in and line my eyes with the CoverGirl liquid eyeliner. I actually really like these. They sent these to me and I actually really like them, but I'm going to use the brown shade actually. I like to use a brown sometimes because it, like lately it does like really soften up my eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera, and then we'll be back to do the face, and I'll tell you guys like the rest of my tattoo stuff. Eyeliner's on. Sorry, I just can't do eyeliner on camera because I have to get like real up close and all that fun stuff. So I'm sorry again if this video is all over the place. So we were talking about the prices of tattoos. So I would say mine cost, I think for both of these, I know I paid about $150, and I think my other ones were around, you know, $80 and whatever. So pretty much around like 60 to 80 bucks is kind of what you can expect. At least that's what I could expect. So yes, that's like money, right? Like it's not super cheap, but there are some people who will pay that for makeup, who will pay that for stuff, and you know, spend your money wherever you want to. But like, I'm just saying that for me, I guess how I justified it was that this is not something that's going to be, that's going to go bad, that's going to expire, that's going to get holes in it, that's going to possibly, you know, if it's a pair of shoes that, you know, is going to wear. Like, these are things that I'm going to have forever. So that's how I kind of justified it. Okay, so for primer, I just used the CoverGirl Skin Smoothing Primer. They sent this to me as well, and I've actually been really liking it. It feels like a lotion-y type primer. It's kind of cool. For foundation, I'm going to go in with the Makeup Revolution Face Base Stick Foundation. I have the shade F4. So we're going to try this out for the first time. I have a sponge and a brush because I don't know how I'm going to like it blended, but we're going to see. So anyway, so yeah. Oh, wow. This is creamy. So yes, it's money, and it's what people think of, like, you know, it's a lot of money, at least in my world, that is. And so, but like I said, you know, I'm going to have it forever. So it's kind of how I justified it. This foundation is like super creamy. I was not expecting that. So yeah, I think I like it with a sponge blended out. Super fast. I had to hurry. I had to go in like 30 minutes. Okay. So, let's see what else. I answered the meaning behind them all. I answered prices, pain. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, I guess placement, like why I got them where I did. So my cross, I got that one where I did on like my lower right ankle. Just because I think it was my first one, and I was like, I don't want it to be super noticeable. You know, if I need to wear pants, like I know that it will be hidden, you know, and all of that stuff, which honestly nowadays though, like no one cares. Like I go in for job interviews, or, you know, I go into meetings or whatever, and like no one cares that I have tattoos. It's not taboo anymore, at least in my line of work. I'm a social worker, so I'm sure my line of work is probably a little bit more like, people in my field are probably a little bit more like free-spirited and like, woo, okay, like, you know, than other fields. But just in my experience, you know, I've gone into some meetings with other people, important people, and no one really blinks an eye at it anymore. But that was kind of my mentality when I got my cross. I'm just going to add some more where I feel like I need it, just little where I have marks and things like that. So that was my reasoning for getting my cross there. And I also just kind of like that placement because I don't see a whole lot of tattoos there. You know, I kind of see them on the upper ankle, not really behind your foot. So then my one that says Love Always, that's my grandmother's handwriting. I got that one on my foot just because I knew that that's where I would always be able to see it, and I could look down and I could always see it, and you know, I just always liked tattoos on my feet. That's just like, or on people's feet, I guess. That's just what I wanted. So, and then as I got more comfortable and as I aged, I should say, I really like this foundation, by the way. It's nice. And the shade's really nice for me, I think, too. But as I got older, I was kind of like, I really like them on the, like, wrist. I think that looks super cool and, like, badass, whatever. So, and I knew when I wanted my Live Loved one, I knew I wanted it on my wrist. Now, my Lucky Few one, again, everything about this tattoo is kind of, like, spontaneous, but I just really, I was looking it up on, like, Pinterest, and, I'm using my Pixi Brightening Peach corrector, by the way. I was looking it up on, like, Pinterest and stuff, and I really liked this placement, so that's where I got it. Now, I just had something else in my head that I was going to share with you guys about tattoos. Shoot. I mean, and I'm not an expert. My goodness, I only have 4 of them. It's not like I have a full sleeve or anything like that, you know. It's like, I think the biggest thing is, like, if you go into a place and you think that it looks shady, get out. Like, do not get a tattoo there. Like, I would hate to have a horror story of, like, an infection or, you know, like, ugh, I could not handle it. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Okay. You have to be realistic about it. So, for example, with this Live Loved one, I originally wanted it to be smaller than what it is. But when I went in, I'm using my Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. I don't know if I said that. But when I went in to get it, and I told him, I said, make it as small as you possibly can. And he made the stencil this small. And I asked him, I said, can you go smaller? And he was like, honestly, no. And he said, because I don't want the ink to bleed. And if the smaller will go, the more it likely will bleed together. And he's like, so I'm just not comfortable going smaller because I don't want it to bleed and then you have like a big black blob on your arm. So that's also something I really like about Evolved, is that they were very realistic with me, and he was just like, no, I can't do that, you know? So I was really happy with that. Now, again, if you are like, well, I want it smaller and I don't really care, I'm willing to take the risk if it bleeds, well then okay, but then you can't get mad at the guy for, you know, for it bleeding because he told you, you know, hey, that's not how this is gonna go. It's not gonna look good. So I think you have to also have kind of realistic expectations. You know, I think some people kind of go in and want something really tiny, but it's like, that doesn't always work. You know, it's not always how like things pan out. So you just have to be realistic with it. I'm going to use my number 7 loose powder. So that's just something, again, you got to be realistic with how much, you know, you're asking for from these people, because they have to make sure that it's going to look good and it's going to, because in our minds, all we see is that the way that it looks on our skin, but they have to think about like the way it's going to apply and the way the ink is going to go in and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So, and the way your skin stretches, like with this one, for example, I was like, I don't know if I really want it to like move. Like, I don't want it to look slanted at some point. And he was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like when I turn, I still want it to be straight. And he's like, but that's not how your skin is. He was like, so that's kind of impossible. And I was like, oh, I guess you're right. Like, you kind of forget, at least I did, like that. And he was really nice about it. Of course, he said it like nicer than that. But, you know, like, you kind of forget, like, you just want it to look a certain way, and you forget that, like, it's on your skin stretches, like, there's nothing you can do about that. And so you know, that was kind of something that I was like, oh yeah, well. So anyways, so those are just types of things that I think I would make sure to be aware of if you're thinking about getting a tattoo. It's just you have to have very realistic expectations when you go in and not, you know, just think it can be exactly how you want it to be. And if it is, well then that's just a risk like you have to be willing to take. Okay, I'm looking a little greasy. Just gonna do that. That's kind of the story of my tattoos. I feel like we didn't even really get that far in the face, and I'm already done with that because I can't multitask. I'm going to go in with this powder from Pacifica. It's their Mineral Neutralizing Mattifier Powder. I have been trying this lately. I don't know really how I feel about it, but I feel like you don't get a lot off on the brush. So I just use my fingers. But yeah, so I just noticed lately, ever since I kind of got the tattoos that were visible, I had a lot of people in the comments like, oh my gosh, did you get tattoos? Or, you know, like, have you always had that? I didn't notice it, and things like that. So I just kind of thought I would share my personal experience with getting tattoos and all of that. You know, I like them. Dropped a brush. I don't think, you know, like I said, I think they're becoming less like taboo. I know growing up, my parents kind of never really wanted us to get them, and luckily I'm the youngest and my older sister kind of got one before I did. So it worked out for me. All right, for the rest of my face, I'm going to use the Too Faced Natural Face Palette. This is not like super new, but it's new to me. Guys, this packaging, I just want to eat it. It's so good. So I'm going to go in with the bronzer in Sunny Honey up here. Just going to go take it on like a smaller brush. I like the coverage of that foundation though. It's good. So I think another thing, I just took some bronzer under my chin to slim myself. Another thing is that like, I don't, like just let it simmer for a little bit. I don't recommend just like having an idea and going and getting it the next day. If you're okay with impulsive decisions, then sure, do that. I'm going to take a little bit, I think, of Pink Sand down here. It's like the darker blush. Now, if you're okay with like making impulsive decisions, then I would say, you know, do your thing. But for me, I'm not. So I really let it, like, I let all of these tattoos, I would say, sit for a good, like, 6 months to a year in my mind, thinking that I wanted them. You know, could I live without it or could I not? You know, and I think that's the thing. Like, I have other things that, sure, I would want, but that I don't feel a huge need, at least right now, to go and get because I'm like, I can live without it. You know what I mean? So, anyways, that's just kind of like my personal preference, experience with all of it. Is just kind of let it sit with you for a little bit before like running out and getting it. Just because you really want to make sure it's like something you can't live without. For highlighter, I'm going to use the Persona Cali Glow highlighter in Zuma. You guys know I'm obsessed with the Persona eyeshadow palette, and so I wanted to get one of the highlighters. And this shade, you guys, is so pretty. Persona is a cruelty-free brand, so if that's something you're passionate about. I have used this once, and it is intense, but it is pretty. Like, do we see that? And it's a little yellow for my skin, but it works. Oh my god, it's so pretty. So yeah, so I would say like sit on something for a while, especially if you're not wanting to make an impulsive decision. Do your research on places. I would say the best way that like, the reason I went to the place I did is because that's where my sister went. And so I would say go off of referrals, like ask people who have tattoos, even if you see someone like in a store or, you know, who's like checking you out, or you just see someone, like ask them like, hey, where'd you get your tattoo? I'm kind of thinking about it, you know, just ask them, ask around. Get some good recommendations, look at reviews online, and yeah, that is where I definitely recommend just doing your research in is like the place and where you go. And also just be very realistic about what you want and what you're able to get actually, and like what's going to work and what's not, because, you know, I think some people just have kind of, at least I know I did, I had unrealistic expectations about like the size of things or, you know, like what I wanted and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do my brows off camera to hopefully shorten this video up a little bit for you guys. and we'll be back to finish the rest of this. Okay, so I went ahead and did my brows and my mascara off camera. I used the Maybelline Total Temptation Waterproof today. I really like this mascara, although I think it's kind of starting to like be on its last leg because it's getting really dry. But I do like the way that it builds and things like that. So let's go ahead and do the lower lash line really quick. I think that's all I kind of have to say about tattoos. I was like thinking about it as I was doing my brows and stuff. And yeah, I think that's all I got to say about it. Okay, do I want to do something like smoky on the bottom, or what do I want to do? I think I just kind of want to stick with maybe this TMI shade, like this purpley shade. I love a good purple eyeshadow. But this is like a pinky purple. It's like a little deeper. So I think it's really pretty and just kind of unique in a sense. I love these types of purpley shades. Okay, now I'm going to take the shade Downright and smudge that on the lower lashes, just to smudge it out. Have it not look so harsh. Okay, and for inner corner highlight, I think I'm going to take the shade Upfront. It's like really icy, but I wanted to see what it looks like. I'm excited about it. Ooh, that's pretty. Yep. That's nice. It's like a boom. I like it. Okay, overall, I really like the ColourPop powder eyeshadows. I think they're pigmented. I think they blend very well. My first time using them today, but overall, I really liked the experience I had with them. Let's go ahead and do some lower lash mascara. Covergirl Clump Crusher Water Resistant is where it's at for this stuff. Ooh, wait, I wanted to go in with a nude eyeliner in my waterline just to kind of brighten everything up, because sometimes with these purpley tones, my eyes can look a little like red and murky. So I want to like really make sure they are bright. They don't look so red. Okay, I think that's fine though with the mascara. Okay, so now for lips, I have this new, whatchamacallit? It's the Maybelline, I think it's their Color Sensational Shine lipsticks or something. Honestly, I want to say it's their version of the Color Ray Shine Balm from L'Oreal. And I got the shade Undressed Pink. But I want to do a lip liner. So I'm going to go in with, we'll just do this one. We'll do the Wet n Wild Lay Down the Mauves. And then, again, this is Undressed Pink. I tried to have this on once, and I didn't like it without a lip liner, so that's why I felt the need to use one today. I don't know if it's like, it wasn't the formula I didn't like without a lip liner, it was just this color. I needed something to kind of like tone it a little bit, you know? Okay, so, I mean, it's creamy, it's nice, it's shiny. It does have that really intense Maybelline smell, though. Just be warned. The Persona highlighter, I'm obsessed with. I love this so much. I love the Too Faced Natural Face Palette. The, let's see, what else did I try today? The foundation is a little bit more dewy than I originally thought, the stick foundation from Makeup Revolution. But I liked it. I liked the coverage of it a lot. I'll definitely kind of play with it some more. Another foundation I did want to mention though that I recently got was the Clinique Acne Solutions Liquid Makeup. I purchased this off of Makeup by Tiffany D's recommendation, and I love this stuff. It is so, so good. So, but I just always, like, I already played with this a lot and I kind of have found what I think about it, and so I didn't really want to use it for this video. I wanted to try the Makeup Revolution one, but I did want to mention it because it's awesome. Yeah, I like the CoverGirl primer and the liner and things like that, but thank you guys so much for watching. This is the final look. I hope you guys liked this video and got to learn something about my tattoo experience, and I could help you guys in some way. If you guys have any other topics you want me to kind of do in this type of video, or you have any questions for me, maybe I could do a Q&A or something like that, just leave it in the comments below and I will maybe do a Q&A, or I'll do another type of video like this or something, just kind of answering some questions that I commonly get. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and I will see you guys in my next one.